Welcome to the Digital Feminist Podcast, the podcast where we discuss feminist issues from the point of view of the African woman. And today I have my favorite bigger co-host, Miss Chineke. And my name is Ijoma, and we'll be talking about a very interesting topic. Topic?
So today we're talking about transgenderism, especially from the lens of a cis woman feminist.
Okay, first of all, before we start, Nigeria doesn't have an active transgender community. We have active LGBTQ. Okay, LGBT. LGBT community, but the T part is a little bit shaky. So we don't have a lot of insight, as people that, let's say America or Thailand or places where there are a lot of transgender people,
openly transgender
people. So because of that, what we're going to be talking about is, from our own lens, from our own point of view. But first of all, when you voice an opinion that the trans community considers harmful to them, I'm using harmful in quotes, or something they don't like, they term you a TERF, TERF, trans exclusionary radical feminist.
Yeah.
So now, and they now call you transphobic. Now, do you think there's a difference between being a TERF and being transphobic? And do you think, labeling someone a feminist a TERF because they don't necessarily agree with some of the things that they're saying, don't you think is a bit, what's the word?
I think it's a bit much. In fact, TERF has become like a slur, at least on Twitter, which is where I get to see a lot of the trans conversation. You can be having an argument, let's say you're a TERF, it's like calling someone a misogynist or a rapist, like it's something horrible, which makes no sense, because like, what do you mean someone is a TERF because they say, oh, I don't think men and women should share public bathrooms, and it's like being a TERF is more harmful to the trans community than being a misogynist. And I want to point out that a lot of this anger and the ire is directed at women, which to me is misogynistic. When you consider the fact that many trans people come into harm, and this harm comes from men,
which is said by men. No, what we talk about
men,
transphobia,
trans people.
Transphobia is fueled by men.
So how come it is women? And that's why I say sometimes it comes across as misogyny, because all your anger, not just women but feminist women, and I dare say most people who are transphobic in the real sense of what being transphobic is, that people who want you to people who want you, who don't want you to identify as whatever you wish to identify, people who want to cause you harm, even if they are women. Most of them are not feminists,
of course,
because most feminists are allies of the LGBT community, even if they don't understand examples. Your lived experience, so you can't really fully understand what it's like. But most of them are allies, at least in my experience. So how do you direct all your anger at the people who do not pose a material harm to you? They're not the ones killing you. Anytime you hear a trans person, a trans woman especially, has been, it's usually a man. Usually men who are attracted to them, having sex with them, and then maybe they are outed for having sex with transgender men, and the way men are, they feel shame, and then they act out and kill their partner. Or men who see a woman and they think, oh, she's a biological woman, and then when it gets done, they realize, oh, she's trans, and then but it's not, feminists are not the ones causing you harm. So how come being a TERF is more insidious than being an actual misogynist?
Now, I'd like to say something to that effect, which might sound out there, but I believe that the audacity that men have. Okay, first of all, yes, I understand body dysmorphia, I understand gender dysmorphia, and I understand that sometimes you might feel that like this is not the gender I was born into. But that doesn't mean growing up that you're not socialized as a man, that you do not have the privileges of a man. You grew up with the privileges of a man, the audacity of a man, and for the first few formative years of your life, where the most important things happen, you were brought up, educated, trained as a man. You enjoyed the privileges of living in a patriarchal society. And then let's say maybe by the time you're 10, 11, 12, you start feeling, then I think I'm in the wrong body, which is very valid, of course. Then let's say when you start to transition in your late teens, early 20s and all of that, that does not, the fact you believe that you're a woman does not erase those of years of socialization of a man, of being a man, of being brought up in a patriarchal, misogynistic society. And then what this trans women do, whether consciously or unconsciously, is they carry over their mindset. They think that that audacity, they carry it over and they bring it with them when they transition. The problematic behavior men have, or they were brought up with as men, they bring it here. They come in, they want to take up spaces that are meant for women. When women say, okay, I normally give this example. Men are for women. It doesn't mean every single man, but when you see a man, a bell goes off in your head. Now let's assume that an abused woman, which 1 out of 3 women have been abused. Now an abused woman is in the toilet and she sees a man whip out his penis, and this person goes, I'm a trans woman. It doesn't assuage or alleviate your trauma. It doesn't calm it down. But when you say stuff like this, they don't you're transphobic. But what you fail to realize, what the trans women, what they fail to realize is that women, we live in constant fear of men. Now, a trans woman can have a cis woman.
Yeah.
You can rape a cis woman. You can hurt cis woman. That is not questionable. But it doesn't go the other way.
No.
I don't believe that cis men are scared or afraid of trans men.
No.
In fact, if anything, trans men live in fear of cis men. They can hurt you, want you, beat you, But when you voice this opinion as a woman that, I don't think I would be comfortable doing this with it. They start shouting. You do not understand that after years, millennia of out by men, it doesn't matter whether you're the one or not. Women live in constant fear of men in general. And these men, when they transition, it doesn't wipe out the fact that you have been socialized for years as a man. You grew up as a man. You enjoyed the privileges of living in a patriarchal society. You enjoyed it. Nobody treated you differently because nobody said, and every other boy should enjoy what it means, but only you. No, by being a boy in this society, you enjoyed it. So I think this is one of the places that we need to have a conversation. I believe these women need their own spaces, and I don't think that means excluding trans women. I think it's about having a safe space for us. We've not had this for equality or whatever it is. We've not even attained full equality. We've not even had this thing for, let's say, this small respect. We're still fighting for it, and now they want to be give it to. No, I think it's how do I put it without sounding like a her or transphobic. So I think this is one thing. The conversation needs to be had without flaws being thrown at people.
Yeah, and like what you said, it's like the way, if you're a woman, you notice the way men take up space in the society. It's mostly unconscious. Most women, when you're in a space, women usually try to minimize themselves. It's all part of the socialization that we all grow up with. Well, the opposite is the men. They tend to not just take up their own space, they tend to dominate everybody's space.
Of course.
There's something called manspreading and all those things they do. And if you read, because like Peter said, we don't know these people personally. I personally don't know any trans woman personally. But all we are saying is from our point of view, from what we see online in the conversation spaces. So when you see that same trait that cis men do, dominating, and it comes across like that. And you wouldn't blame cis women for, being a bit resistant to open up, let you in, because we can see the dominance, the arrogance, the
exactly those same things that we are running away from. And you're bringing it into our space.
It makes our spaces feel unsafe.
Exactly.
Do you understand? It's a feeling. Probably they don't intend to, but like I said, the socialization is there. We are all a product of our environment and our socialization. And with the patriarchy, it permeates every aspect of our being.
I wanted to mention this now. And what you said, that thing I said that they carry over audacity from, you will, when you hear about trans, that is mostly about trans women, men who transition becoming women. You never hear it about women transitioning to be men.
Why?
They take what women who transition to be men, they are not that audacious.
No,
they are not looking to take up spaces. They are not trying to force you to use bathroom. They are not trying to let you know. They're not trying to win Man of the Year award. They're not trying to be erectile dysfunction, basis of erectile dysfunction, and the ambassadors of the erectile dysfunction product. They're not trying to be this thing and this thing. But when men, they I don't want to say they know their place, but when there's this proverb that when a chicken goes to a new place, it stands with one leg. So they try to stand with one leg, really don't try to be accepted. They are not saying, come on, put this. But men, when they transition, they come with so much audacity and sometimes misogyny from their lived experience, from their, let me say, former life. And intentionally or unintentionally, they carry it over, and they wonder why women are not running and throwing flags for them to enter. And much of their hatred, and this is where that misogyny comes. I don't think it is like misogyny. I believe it is misogyny, because much of their hatred and their anger is projected towards women, or are projected towards women, not towards men, not from where they are coming from. As a woman, as a trans woman, you should know that the people who will do you harm, who even in Congress that will take away your rights and everything, are men. They're the people who cannot stand you. But you project much of your hatred and audacity and whatever to women, especially feminists. Why are you this? Why is this? It doesn't go the other way. When women transition to be, because we've lived a whole life being cautious, trying to not stir up trouble. When they transition, they are not there to step on toes. They are not there to fight with men. They're not there to do this or do that. I'll shout about being excluded or anything. They try to win the acceptance of the people they want to win. But these people, they come in to fight us. They come into, I'm sorry about saying these people. You see, you have to walk around eggshells. When I'm talking about women, I can say these people. When I have to talk about trans people, you have to be careful because it might be misconstrued. So that's a lot of things. Look, any small thing you say, a law will be thrown against you, and it makes it combative. Discussions cannot be had that way. Discussions cannot be had that way. Okay, when we even talk about sports, it's so much, and then at the end of the day, that misogyny is still there, because I think the only, let's say, trans figure we have in Nigeria is somebody like Whiskey, and you see when she fights with women, with cis women, she goes, oh, you're total, she reverts to misogyny.
Like
immediately.
Like
I should tell you, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I will join both gender and beat you. And she reverts, and that is what a lot of them do. They remind you that if this way, they are going to they're going to go physical. You see some of them on Twitter saying, it's about time we start ourselves and doing this and people. And once they don't get their way, or once something goes wrong, that is it. Women have been disadvantaged, killed, oppressed for years. You don't see women, feminists going, let's arm ourselves and start. It's like, but maybe because they say you should not use bathroom, which to you might be discrimination. But let's think, why is your response to that slight discrimination getting and killing people? Why? So that is the conversation that needs to be had. When these conversations can't be had, because once you open your mouth and voice anything that is the opposite of what they want to hear, you are a terror. You should be killed. You say, well, bomb should scatter your family and everything. And it makes it hard for these conversations to be had. Actually, I rarely ever hear of trans men having issues or maybe having
You never hear about them.
You never hear about them. Women are mellow. So when they eventually transition to, you don't hear anything. Every single thing, every single wahala I've heard about trans people is actually about trans women.
Every conflict, every time there is a conflict between the trans community and the cis community, it usually has to do with trans women.
Yeah,
men transitioning to become
women.
And I don't
and
understand.
People trying to shoot.
Yeah, I feel like this trans conversation has given people, progressive people who identify as progressives, feminists, liberals, to just be misogynist towards women. Like, I see the conversations on Twitter. It's insane. The things they say should happen to 6 women. So they say you should be raped, you should be killed, they can beat you, and it's like, why is that your go-to? And I don't think people understand that and that's why sometimes it comes across as if their idea of femininity is something they can easily put on and perform. Exactly. The female experience is something that has traversed over millions of years of oppression, fighting. Women did not get to where we are today just by sitting and looking pretty and putting on makeup, which is sometimes what it comes across as. You're just pretending you are performing as a woman. And so you have to understand that it's going to rub a lot of women the wrong way. Yeah. So that's why there has to be a conversation. You let them into your world, and you allow us let you into our world.
It's a
not jumping in and trying to like take over. You have to understand that women did not get to where we are just by doing. I don't know what people think women are doing. So sometimes it comes across as if your voices are over the voices of women.
And it also comes across as opportunistic.
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, while we were fighting for the little freedom we had, trans people did not come out. Nobody came, no man came to. So it's like, now that we are trying to get this equality, men are now like, oh, I'm a woman too. I'm a woman. Allow us get our stuff. Nobody saying, at the end of the day, it looks like, okay, you waited and waited for a generation, because obviously the trans people here were not the only people who had, who are trans. We had
their ancestors,
exactly, the voice existed, but none of them were part of the struggle. None of them cared enough to be, to come out. But now that it looks like, we are gradually, we've not actually attained the equilibrium, we've not reached where we're
yeah.
But now that it looks like, okay, let's say we're 40% there, we're 50% there, we're almost there, then now pop out. And I'm not dragging the small benefits. It does, we want this battle, we want this. There are some women who would feel traumatized being in the same space with men urinating, sharing the same,
Yeah, like something I saw again on Twitter about women's shelter. Women who have been abused or maybe they don't have where to stay. So they have shelters by women organizations, feminist organizations, where you can stay at least for a period of time to get yourself. So you understand that women who are in these shelters are vulnerable. They are still traumatized. And then there was a conversation about these spaces being exclusive of trans women. And I'm like, duh.
Of course.
Yes. I mean, is it not common sense? If I've been raped, I don't want a man in my space.
Even if he's wearing makeup.
Even if he identifies as, because most people are just still in the self-identity spaces. Yeah. Because getting the gender
reassignment surgery is
a lot. Yeah. So I understand that. So but at that point, to a traumatized woman, you are a man.
You're a man.
You're a male identified.
It doesn't matter what you call yourself. You are a man.
So I don't understand why you feel entitled to that space. You can be trans elsewhere. Why do you want to be in a vulnerable woman's space? So also brought up the idea of there's something in what's this show called Grey's Anatomy. A lady that was raped had to go into surgery, and she was so traumatized that the doctor that was handling her case removed all the men in the team. So from where she was, I think maybe A and E to the surgery, which was a longer way, also feel between men, like to show solidarity. Because maybe seeing a man at that stage, it was a horrible rape.
Nobody,
no, you understand. So I don't. That's why sometimes it seems as if they don't understand what it's like to be a woman.
Exactly.
There's no woman who does not understand what I'm saying right now.
When you demand empathy, you should also be able to give empathy.
If a biological woman who has been at risk of being, some of us have been sexually assaulted from childhood to adulthood, so you understand the visceral fear that comes with those few moments, days, months after going through such a traumatic condition. So why are you insisting that you want to be? That's the part that makes me angry, because when they say being transphobic, what comes to my head is when you say somebody cannot change their gender, or when you met out by for doing so, or when you take away fundamental human rights from them. Now that is being transphobic. You don't have any right to do that to someone else, because it's literally not your business. What I don't understand is saying because you are excluded from these kind of spaces that makes me transphobic. That makes no sense.
That makes no sense.
Nobody wants you. You shouldn't want to be there if you are on women's side.
Yeah.
If you knew what it was to be a woman, automatically you should know that you do not belong there. Some of those spaces, then I think that blew up into a whole conversation about some of these women's shelters. They don't even let male children there.
Of course, but
and it's actually validated, because some of those children, male children, of course they are children. Sometimes feminists advocate for the rights of children, but you realize that even little boys can have men. Yes, they are children, but they can.
Every rapist wants a child. Who?
A 10-year-old boy, a 7-year-old girl the other day. Is it a child? So when those spaces eliminate male figures, it's for a reason. It's not because anybody hates you and wants you to die. You will not die. Not there.
Is what I keep on saying, that if you demand empathy, you should be willing to give empathy. If you think, they don't understand me, then you should also be willing to sit down and understand why. Understand us. Understand what. So I think this conversation where if you say anything that is considered out of line, you're labeled transphobic, it shuts down conversation. Then everybody becomes defensive.
It shuts down genuine concerns. And if that is not misogyny, I don't know what
it is. Misogyny, because at the end of the day, all this anger, hatred is projected only towards women. Nobody is talking to men like that. The primary aggressors at the end of the day are men. But nobody's checking on them. Men can say whatever and they get away with it. But the main focus, the main people they want to know. When I heard, J.K. Rowling is transphobic, I thought maybe she said trans people should die, or trans people don't matter, or that. And when I saw what she said, I was like, hello,
and then start canceling her.
He can't cancel.
What that made me mad was people saying, she's not as talented. I'm like, please, can we not lie?
Let's speak to
you all grew up on Harry Potter. Let's stick to topic. Don't give me.
So I don't. Once you voice once it's a dissenting voice, they don't want to understand what you're trying to say. I feel that
they were doxing her now. They went to get her house address, go to her house and constitute nuisance. A woman, why would you do that?
And that is misogyny at play. At the end of the day, it's still misogyny at play.
So you want to go and harm a woman?
Let me tell you, Chine, men say these things. Their voices are loud too.
Like
nobody.
You don't go to their house now and talk to men.
Nobody says anything.
Every single person that has tried to be cancelled for being transphobic is a woman. I mean, it's very suspicious.
Woman. And that's what I keep on saying, that it is not like misogyny. It is misogyny. If it quacks like a dog, it is a dog. It is misogyny at the end of the day. It is that misogyny that but you don't, and the thing is, they would not accept it. They'll be like, but what do you do to men that say same things?
Say worse things.
Say worse things. Nothing.
Because they do. So you see, they will kill. They see a girl, a woman, and then they find out she has a dick. They're going to kill. Like, what the Meanwhile, what they are, the women are instead of going to introspect on how they are, because they are ashamed of finding someone like that. Attracted to someone like that. So to me, these are things that are transphobic. Not saying that trans women
should have their own category of sport, should have their own bathrooms, should have their own this, should have their own spaces. That is not transphobic. That is not transphobic.
So I mean, let's go back to the drawing table or sitting table, wherever, and redo this whole conversation, because it's gotten to the point where even your fellow feminists, when you talk, they'll say, you TERF, and that's it.
Yeah,
I'm like, hello.
Conversations cannot be had that way.
Why would you be alienating your fellow feminists? We are in this fight together. We are meant to be advocating for ourselves first. So how would you, because of another demographic, and be alienating your fellow feminists? To me, that's just insane. Like,
funny.
I'm not down for that.
No. At the end of the day, I think these conversations need to be had, and they need to be had. They need to be had loudly, so that we can come to a place where we can understand, where we can know that there's a difference between excluding this trans people, and a difference between wanting to create safer spaces for women,
which they deserve.
We've been fighting for this. There's a difference between both. There's a difference between wanting more for women, and me wanting to create something, a safe space for women, does not mean I don't want a safe space for trans people. Trans women should create their own safe
spaces.
Yeah,
they should have their right.
You should have yours, and I should have mine. Just like when we say women's right does not take away from men's right.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So I believe, there should be maybe a sport for trans people. They should have their own category for this. They should have their own toilet. They should have this. You don't have to force your way into women's space to know that, before you bully your way in, before you accept that, this is not a transphobic, but before I allow you must sleep in my room, before you know that I like you. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And this cancellation, that if you say anything that is not considered PC enough and you're cancelled, I think everybody needs to calm down. The conversation needs to be had, and we can't have a genuine conversation, if we keep on throwing words, laws, transphobic, bisphobic, that phobic, and no. We need to calm down and have a conversation, a lot of introspection. You check yourself and I check myself, and then we come to the table. And I think that is it.
Yep.
Thank you for staying with us on this episode, and I think this one, I think we covered something.
Yeah, I think we did.
And our beautiful hairs are from Hair Electra. Thank you, Hair Electra, for beautifying us this episode. Comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.